Hello, and thank you for joining me as I try my hand at unboxing. Now, I did not have a deprived childhood at all. If I had very little in the way of a Rector set, I had plenty of Bilofix, so all good. And I pretty much had everything G.I. Joe I could really want, except this, the Breeches Buoy. And I've wanted it ever since as a child, and I suspect that if I had asked my parents nicely, if I had told them what I really wanted, I would have gotten it. It was, that cross advertising that goes on boxes that just sparked my imagination. It just seems so cool. So here I am, oh gosh, 50 years later, and I finally got it. Well, a second one, as I might relate. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take this thing out because this is an unboxing video after all. Oh, we got some little literature here. Cool. All right, we'll get rid of the box. I'll get that later, honest. Right, here we go. So we've got the flare gun. Always nice to have an extra one of those. We have the Breeches Buoy proper and the outfit that comes with, which is what I really care about. And then another life vest with RNLI on it. I'm planning to make some of these lights actually work. I think that'd be cool. And we get an extra pair of boots, which can't hurt. So let's get back to the unboxing. Alright, we could tear this open, or we'll go ahead and give it a nice slice and get stuck back in. Right, pop everything out. Ooh, these boots look mid-range in quality. They're all blow molded, and some are a little thin, and some are really thick and nice, and these are all in the sort of Goldilocks range. And there's a Breeches Buoy, and this will be fun to have a go at. And then we've got the actual outfit, which is what I'm most excited about. Now, these do age, so in a way that I don't have one from my childhood, it's like I still wouldn't have it now if I had it then, because it would all crackle and break apart. But this one's in good enough order, I think. So, happy days. Right, let's take a look at the literature. Royal National Lifeboat Institution and the how-to of the toy. And then we get some information about the RLNI. And if you'd like to help them out, you can buy this really delicious tea that I recommend highly. Up next is something you might think of as an off-brand Action Man. So here we are, Strike Force. And this thing's actually made in the UK. Or most of it anyway. And we can see some various vehicles that we often see on eBay. And I might have one or two of those in the stash. So let's get stuck into unboxing this thing. Box a little worse for wear, but that doesn't bother me at all because I'm actually interested in what's inside the box, not the box itself. I know some collectors really care about that. I think that background might be something that someone could use, but that's another story for another time. All right, so we'll get these two guys out. And honestly, I don't know how I'm going to utilize them yet. I have some ideas, but you'll have to tune in and see, as it were. And we get a bunch of accessories with them. So, kind of a cool start. All right, let's get these sort of flexi cuffs, waist flexi cuffs off, shall we? All right. And take a look at our two guys. I had seen this thing on eBay, and I'd been thinking about it, and then one day I said, like, you know what? Even with shipping, it's not unreasonable, and pulled the trigger. We get these accessories. The plastic is a little on the soft side. And as you can see, the canteens are canteen halves. So I don't know if it's a polyethylene, a polypropylene, or very soft polystyrene. We'll see what solvents or adhesives might work on it. I have no idea how that bayonet's ever going to attach. I think it would have to take on some modifications before we could really use it. But I think this Browning adjacent machine gun's got some real promise, and we might be able to do some clever things with all that. Right. Let's look at the figures proper. Interesting camouflage pattern. We've got, I say, 8 points articulation. The arms move up. The knees bend. There's a clicking mechanism underneath, sort of rubberized leg, if you will. And I'm not trying to get weird here, but I'm interested in seeing if there's any maker marks. As we know with Action Man and G.I. Joe, we'll typically get a who made it and where on there. Interesting to note that the fly, the functional fly, I suppose the aesthetic one, is on the back. And it's all secured with Velcro, not the usual sort of snaps or such. Okay, so I didn't find any maker's mark. And the leg did snap off or had already. The legs are kind of a fairly hard but flexible rubber material, and I think the pivot point, the rubber had degraded over time, and so it was very brittle. Sorry. All right, let's look at this beret, and you notice his hair helps the beret take its shape. It's pretty clever, if you ask me. And then this guy, he's got this flat top going on. I might call him Muhlenberg, which is such an obscure reference, even I barely understand it. These guys might serve as mercenaries or something. We'll have to see. One of these days, I'd like to talk about why I think Cindy is a better play system than Barbie. Her domestic front is streets ahead of Barbie, and if Barbie has more cars, Cindy's cars are better. But here we have Marie and what I believe is Paul, and they're getting married, and Paul's supposed to be Cindy's boyfriend, and, well, more on that in a bit. As far as these things, I'm convinced there are Chinese factory workers who are sticking it to us round eyes by twisting these things way more than they need to. So I'll just cut them and be done with it. But back to the plot, Cindy's boyfriend is stepping out with her friend Marie, and they're even getting married. So wow, that's gonna get tricky. And when you see Marie's side eye, you know she's looking away from Paul. So it's already a train wreck, people. Okay, but besides having a thing for redheads, Marie usually costs a pretty penny. But this set, the box is a bit beat up. As I said before, I don't care. It was at a very reasonable price point, so I pulled the trigger on it. And the shortcoming, I think, of the Cindy system, if you will, Barbie's got the same thing, is their hands don't hold stuff. And I really think that that's something to work on. So a bunch of these figures, I'm thinking about maybe we can retrofit some hands that grip stuff. But there's Paul checking out his new squeeze, having dumped his girlfriend for her. Wow, it's complex. And she's like, whatever, buddy. But it's a lovely dress, and I'm sure there are a lot of little girls who look at this and, you know, the excitement of getting married and all that. So, fair enough. But we will repurpose Marie, I'm sure, and do some work with that, so she's not always getting married. Paul's naval uniform, he looks very young to be an admiral, but we might be able to work some storyline out of that. So let's get a good look at the face sculpts and all that. Again, Paul's looking young, but he's handsome, so I could see how he'd be a hit with a lady, so fair enough. And Marie, like Cindy, her head, I think, is a little oversized, and there's a technique you can use to shrink them. I don't know if I'm going to risk it with her. The one last thing I'm going to say is a lot of Cindy stuff is way overpriced, I think, but then our stuff is at bargain basement. So there's that. All right, and now we're definitely spent too much money, but our friends at Cotswold actually had this at like the best price point going, and it's a very nice figure, so I decided to treat myself. And as long as we don't treat ourselves too often, I guess it's okay. Alright, so out she comes. And this speaks to my theory that your villains need to either be, like, they can be grotesque and awful, but an absolute threat or menace, or they need to be, like, icy cool and kind of seductive. I don't mean in that sense, but, like, cool seductive. They have a certain appeal to them so that they are a much more credible threat. So here we got some really nice accessories and stuff like that. That revolver, she's not keeping it. I'm going to keep her strictly on the sort of Soviet side of the kill irons and all that. And if I struggled to get this optic to work on camera, later I was able to pop it on without difficulty. So it definitely works and works well. And I think we can tell some really cool stories with this and some other stuff, including some things I will be scratch building. She's got like a Sam Bowie belt going on here, and there's a Makarov and a holster for it. So there's some cool stuff we can do with this. Nicely accessorized. Fantastic box. Definitely a keeper. Right, let's take a look at these hats. The overseas cap, not sticking on great. But look at this amazing articulation. Really fantastic. Let's try this. Oh, it's not working on it at all. Yeah, it would help if I took the plug out that kept it in good shape. Not ideal, but later I brought the ear flaps down and it worked out much better. So let's pop on her coat and see how that looks. All right, a little tricky. I imagine if you took the hands off, it'd be way easier, but I didn't bother with that. Um, but I think it's going to look really sharp on her. And, you want your villains to look cool or ugly and menacing so that they're seen as like a real threat and not just a training resource. One of the things that I'm really impressed with is the quality of the head sculpt. She might need a little hairspray. Reminds me of a girlfriend I once had. But really cold, icy eyes, I think it's going to work out really well for our purposes. Okay, we've got something now a little bit different for you. I think I got this at Agway, and I understand it's a cat's toy, and I don't have the box because there wasn't much of a box and I got rid of it already. But I thought it might be fun to see this thing on camera. When it's actually on camera, hey, Snaky Snake, could you come down here and get back on camera for me, please? It's got like a sensor system, so it'll like back up if it hits something. And my understanding is designed to be like a cat toy, but I don't have a cat to test it on. But I think this might be something very clever if he goes a little fast for an actual snake as part of a dynamic photo story. So, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you had fun. Take care.